if you want power over yourself, you got to start with the work.
We want to establish this mindset that the reality is malleable, that we can be the creators of our reality. We can do change. Everybody of us can do change.
We've been cultivated to shut up and listen, to follow orders, to think in a standardized, conventional way, to doubt our own ability to shape things.
If you do not know this, if you do not have the awareness that you can change something, well, then you won't probably have a big effect in your life in this world.
That's why if you ever get to your roots, the best thing you can do is follow like a cat. Follow with style, brave, good. Like, I got this.
There's only one way to take it, and that's hard, man. There's only one way to own it. She wanna drown in the city lights, but it's alright. If she wanna make a mistake, you better let her, man. You've gotta learn what it takes.
2019. Inovativna agencija Putovanje ka kreaciji, skraćeno J2C, uselivši se u svoj novi poslovni prostor u industrijskoj zoni Berlina, našla se na granici različitih, ponekad oštro suprotstavljenih svjetova.
Between the industrial side on the left of our building and that beautiful natural view on the right is really that. I want to contribute, and we want to contribute as J2C, to a way of living together, working together, being together, where we appreciate the beauty of our true essence and our natural beauty, our natural essence, the intelligence of our biological body, but at the same time embrace meaningful, sustainable human productivity, human-to-human productivity. You know, so progress with roots, and not progress that wants to leave our roots, but also not roots where we drag ourselves into the ground and we don't move, we don't move anymore, but we want roots and we want expansion. I like the image of a tree, deep roots, branches going out. To me the branches out is the technology, but the deep roots is the respect and the love for where we came from and what we are part of essentially.
Iskustvo govori da je ovakav pristup veoma produktivan kada radite na složenom procesu prestrukturiranja različitih preduzeća.
When you work in change processes, when you help organizations to restructure, which is important because our time has changed, so everything is transforming very vividly around us. We have a huge complexity that rises steadily. We have a huge information flow that comes to us all the time. So we have to, first of all, be able to handle this flow of information, this increasing complexity, this ambiguity of this information that we handle, because nothing is, it always has like different meanings, and it is very, very hard to, very difficult to handle this. And you have to bring to the organizations this awareness, first of all, that they need to change because society and everything around, technology progress, gives us the opportunity to change, being agile, learning all the time. But we also have to know that our minds have been evolved to completely different challenges. We have been evolved to the challenges of the tribe. We lived in groups, and our brain evolved such that we are absolutely primed to read the minds of others constantly, all the time. That is what we refer to monkey mind. We always ask ourselves, oh, what is he or she referring to? Is she still liking me? Do I still belong to this group? Am I still important for the group? Do I still belong there? And the feeling or the need to belong to a group is one of the most powerful needs of human beings. If we feel that we are excluded, our same neuronal processes are activated than when we process physical pain. And this is not an accident. Evolution, this is grounded in for evolutionary reason. And organizations have to understand that whenever they have a change process, people fear the unknown. People fear the uncertain room that opens, and they project all their fears and all their anxiety and their doubts into this open, undefined space. And therefore, for leaders who drive this change, it is important to know that, because they have to, this has consequences. They have to communicate on a regular basis to the employees. They have to talk about their own insecurity. They have to talk about the plans that they want to do with them together. They have to make them participate in the process, because this is also something that has been shown from neurobiological research. People want to shape, they want to act, they want to be responsible for the things that they do. They want to go in their own space with their own methods.
U ovom procesu veoma je važno prihvatiti mogućnost neuspjeha. Strah od eksperimentisanja, strah od nepoznatog, strah od neuspjeha često su ključne prepreke koje efikasno blokiraju moć kompanija skrivenu u zarobljenom ljudskom potencijalu.
A good failure culture is key to every good organization and to anything that you want to achieve. Because if you view failures as something bad, you do not innovate, because you do not explore, you do not try new things. The minute you try new things, the minute you step onto new territory, into the unknown, into the uncertainty, this is the minute where all the possibilities arise for innovation to happen. But I have to, or I can only do that when I have in mind the truth that I am allowed to make a failure, to make a mistake. And when I do a mistake, it's not bad. I'm not bad when I do a mistake, but it's part of the game, it's part of the process. So this is my belief, and I think everybody shares this belief. We have to fail, and it's a pity that we are not talking about failures in our culture, because also in the scientific world, only the good outcomes are published. But I mean, you cannot imagine how many failures have been produced before. And if somebody would dare to publish this as well, if there would be a platform, it would be, you would learn, I don't know, 1000% more than just publishing the good stuff, you know.
Ponekad je upravo strah od neuspjeha razlog što ljudi ne žive i ne rade preduzetnički, sa sviješću da imaju moć da mijenjaju svijet i da kreiraju svoju realnost. Upravo je razvijanje ove svijesti ključni zadatak svih zaposlenih agencije J2C u sopstvenom radu i radu sa klijentima.
J2C, we try to be as honest as we can with one another, which is the bit that tries to cultivate a mindset amongst each of us. What's that mindset we're trying to cultivate? It's what we call an entrepreneurial mindset. The name is, I'm a fan of the name, but actually, you know, it can be a bit misleading because it's not about starting your own business. You know, when we talk about an entrepreneurial mindset, what we talk about is about a mindset that recognizes our own potential to create the world that we want to live in, not just react to the world that we're living in. And at J2C, in the human-to-human interaction, that's really, apart from the work we do for the client, that's the absolute highest heuristic we have here. Whatever you do, try to cultivate yourself in that power and try to cultivate the person across from you in that power.
Mindset is really that how we see things, our worldview, our perspective really determines everything. Our health, so when we think that we eat healthy food, it has been shown that we are indeed, our body is in a healthier state in comparison to when we believe we don't eat healthy food. When we think that we have a very nutritious, rich meal, the hormones that signal that we are satisfied, that we are not hungry anymore, they go down faster and more intense in comparison when we think, oh, this is just a salad and I'm on a diet, so I have to, this is not a rich meal. So it is about our perspective, and we have to have this consciousness. It's about getting this awareness, not only in the organizations that we are working in, not only in our organization, because we also first had to establish this mindset. We are not born with this mindset. This is something that we had to realize that this is possible. We want to establish this mindset that the reality is malleable, that we can be the creators of our reality. We can do change. Everybody of us can do change. And to realize this is the first step in our organization, and we are maybe we already proceeded in this process, but we want to bring this mindset, this awareness that everybody can be a creator of the reality, everybody can do change, everybody can do progress. We want to bring this and convey this actually in the world, because this is extremely, I mean, this is key. If you do not know this, if you do not have the awareness that you can change something, well, then you won't probably have a big effect in your life in this world.
U skladu sa ovim principima, zaposleni u agenciji J2C sami predlažu projekte koji se obično razrade oko teme koja ih lično zanima i duboko pokreće. Tako je Rob Lidhoff, oslanjajući se na svoje bogato glumačko iskustvo, razvio mnogo različitih formata koji pomažu inovatorima, najčešće IT ekspertima, da potencijalnim kupcima bolje predstave svoje ideje.
Well, imagine that they have these great ideas, and those ideas live in their heads. That's where they are created, you know. But there is a way to get your idea out into the world. And what do you use? Usually, you use your body to speak, you use your voice to speak. So these two elements need to be trained, out of my perspective, to get the message across in a clear way, and in a way that is not just understood on an intellectual content level, but it's also understood on a very much acoustical level, and is understood in terms of a presence. Like if I see that the person is engaged with the idea, and I can feel that by the way the person uses his voice or uses his body, and then I get excited as the audience. If I don't have that, I can also send you a PowerPoint with my ideas, and I never see the person behind it, and then it's kind of cold, it's kind of distant. And we don't want that. We want it to be conveyed in a very empathetical, I would say passionate kind of way, and that's trainable. The passion is not trainable. If you believe in an idea, it will fire you up, right? But the instrument can be trained to have that fire of passion being conveyed to the other person, and therefore we need voice training. We need ways of using our body in order to get the message across so that it can make an actual impact on the other. That's the idea.
How do you actually work with these clients?
We went down to a company that asked us to help their data scientists, their technical people that develop very difficult, complex software, but they also now are forced almost by their company to sell the software to their customers. So you meet a bunch of highly intelligent people in a room that have these crazy great ideas, but the way they speak about it is very difficult. So for you and me, for example, we are lay people. I don't understand not much about software. So once they started talking to me, I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. So in that perspective, I was their customer. So what we did with them, we helped them find language, like stories, in order to make their difficult, complicated software understandable for the person who had to buy it. So then you have the use of imageries, of metaphors, of analogies, just stories, examples, to make the story come alive so that this dry software language, this expertise language, kind of gets into a much more aliveness of a language. And then that part was the first part. And the second part was to work with their bodies and their voices, because those people mostly sit behind computers every day, all day long, a lot of their time of their lives. So for them to get up in front of people, stand there just with themselves and with their ideas, and to really talk to someone was really difficult. So we helped them get a certain strength in their body language. We helped them using their voices to get the message across. This was a 2-day seminar with 10 people, and by the end of the 2 days, we had them really present their ideas and their software ideas to the company's bosses, so to say. And they loved it. They said like, wow, it's the transformation of people who are, and I don't mean this in a bad way, almost helpless with, I'm so stuck in my idea and I don't know how to bring it across to the other person. We help them find a way through storytelling and the use of their body and voice to get the message across in a simpler way, more effective way, that did not lose the core of the message of what they actually tried to build and to sell. That was amazing work.
Dugogodišnje uspješno poslovanje agencije Putovanje ka kreaciji potvrđuje da svaka ideja može biti pretočena u poslovnu vrijednost, čak i ako je na prvi pogled neobična ili nekonvencionalna. Zato se ovdje sve ideje pažljivo razmatraju.
At J2C, it's very entrepreneurially driven. So if somebody has an idea or a vision, we try to do everything to promote it and to support individuals to realize their ideas. And of course, it needs a bit of structure so we don't lose track, so that we find a corridor of things that we agree on, that we support, in order to fulfill a common purpose, really.
Good ideas that get a certain followership, the best idea wins. So everyone can have ideas, but what counts at the end of the day is what do I make out of that?
Usually you wouldn't think that if you start falling in love with a topic like death, your employer would say, yeah, sure, give it a try, you know? Everyone else would say, well, you know, no, we don't want to talk about death, you don't want to scare people away. So what people here said, oh wow, yeah, that's super exciting, we should get onto that. And you had a little work group around it, and then we developed 2 formats about it, and it was just complete freedom. And I feel like my own entrepreneurial thinking came about when I was thinking about a topic that I was passionate about and how I can carry it into the world. So that was a big impact J2C had on me.
Your interest in death topic led you to a format for funeral companies.
The whole issue is one that's of personal importance to me, and it was just a very nice way to see how a client was ready to confront this problem that's basically that Germany is facing at the moment, because we as a generation don't want to say goodbye to our people in the same way the generation did before us. So that was just very impactful to see, and we were able to work without any references and just basically really ask ourselves, how do we as a generation tick, and how do we want to do this in the future? And the client happily was very much ready to go on that journey with us.
What you discovered on this journey?
I mean, the way the death business works right now is that a few companies or a whole industry is relying on people's panic, right? So because we've succeeded in kind of banning the whole topic from our lives, we're completely overwhelmed in the moment it happens. So when it happens, we just, you know, in a panic, pick up the phone and call someone that we've never met before, sometimes in extreme cases, and then rely on these people's opinions on what to buy. And more often than not, it's we're grieving, or we have a very bad conscience about something we should have done more or whatever, and then we pay you know, thousands and thousands of euros in order to kind of make that person look good at their funeral. And it's just a very very strange way of handling things, and it's a result of kind of not properly addressing it while we live.
How can we address it properly?
Strangely enough, we sometimes need bad news to focus on the essential. So I started noticing that the moment people got a bad diagnosis, or they lost someone, or whatever it was, they just, you know, had big realizations about their lives. For example, their work wasn't making them happy, or they had this big idea at the back of their heads and they really were wondering what could have turned out of that idea. Or they were wondering, what impact do I have at the moment, and how can I maybe do something that's more worthwhile, or that it contributes more to the planet or to the society. And I was wondering, why do we always need these bad news to refocus? What's up with that? And how can we maybe create something that's not as brutal, but that's as impactful for people to realize what's going on in their lives and what could keep them from regretting big parts of their lives when the end comes, basically. And so, yeah, we started to discuss also within the group how we could develop formats that tap into this, for example, death awareness practice that monks have been practicing for thousands of years. Obviously, it's not a new thing. It just basically needs to be reframed for our times. So what we were wondering was, how is it that we find all these distractions from what's actually important? We find all these hobbies and all these little things that keep us busy during our lives, and very often we just don't find the time to pause and to think about essential things anymore. And so we started asking questions like, what would I do if I didn't have to please anyone? What would I do if material value was irrelevant? What would I do if I had the whole day for myself tomorrow without any other motivations? So that was basically the basis for one of the formats that we came up with as part of one of our new radical human development category, basically.
The more we work with companies, the more we realize that for anything to move, we need to work with a human being, and not on a superficial level. When I say superficial level, I mean on the level of skills and competences, my role, leadership and hierarchy. We're talking about, we have to go deeper. We have to work with, who am I? Who do I think I am? How do I see myself in this world? How do I relate to others? What are my neuroses? What are my fears? How do I manage the things that are important to me? How do I orientate myself in my environment? And we noticed that a lot of the stuff that we were doing, which was orientated towards digitalization, agilization, the quite technical stuff, we always had to throw in the human being as an extra. And we always had to hide the bits and pieces that we did. And we said, actually, we want to become more explicit about the work that we think has the biggest impact, which is the work on the human being on a radical level. Radical from radis, in Latin means from in the root, in the essence of the human being. So it's not radical in the sense of, let's go crazy, it's radical in the sense of depth.
I think death awareness has, among many others, a great impact of just really centering you and placing you in the middle of your world. And you just start reflecting on the impact that you have. You basically accept letting go of certain things that you cannot change, but you also accept responsibility for the things that you actually can change. And these things, they are very important in a business context, obviously, because the moment you start accepting your responsibility, you act more as an entrepreneur. You accept that you can shape certain things. And the moment people accept that also within big organizations, they hopefully start acting more responsibly altogether. And they start questioning questionable purposes of companies and maybe start working for companies that reflect their own purpose. And that's the sort of transformation that we're hoping for.
That's why if you ever get to Bruce, the best thing you can do is call like a cat. One with style, great, so I got this.
There's only one way to take it, and that's hard.
Agenciju Putovanje ka kreaciji pokreće duh promjene. Sjeme promjene sije se u kompanije kojim se obraćaju za ekspertizu i pomoć, a osnivači agencije J2C streme i ka planetarnoj promjeni kroz više projekata koji zadiru u sferu održivog razvoja, permakulture, zelene arhitekture.
I'm also co-founder of the initiative Wir bauen Zukunft, or We Build Future. It's a 10-hectare experimental testing site in nature in the north of Germany. Imagine a place with lots of lakes, a huge garden, a very high diversity in trees and different plants, with different buildings on there. We have a fab lab, we have a seminar house with our own organic restaurant. And so this place I started together with 16 other people with very diverse backgrounds again. And we wanted to create a place where we can experiment with alternative architecture, especially tiny houses and earthships. So we are promoting this new way of building and also living. Yeah? On the other hand, we look at food production. So what could be alternative ways to produce food in the future? And there we are looking at agroforestry, and we're building a permaculture food forest.
Na ovom eksperimentalnom imanju klijenti mogu da iskuse razne modele održive realnosti, od proizvodnje organske hrane do izgradnje malih kuća.
With tiny houses, we're experimenting with a smaller footprint. So that means that we have smaller spaces which you would call your own, and then we have shared places that you use, but you don't use them all the time. For example, a kitchen or a living room or sanitation. And then you have your personal backstage area, I would say, or your living room, yes, which really belongs to you. And in that sense, we are also experimenting with different materials. So we're building them in modular ways, using CNC cutters to prefab the individual elements, and then you can stack them together depending on your individual needs. And in Wir bauen Zukunft, or at the Future Center, you can learn how to build them in workshops, and you can build them yourself, or you can ask for somebody else to build it for you. So there are many different ways how you can get your hands on it. And I think the best way is to experience it yourself by just being there, spending a night in one of these buildings, and getting a feeling of what it would be like, and then you can imagine if that's something for you or not.
Vizija budućnosti u kojoj ljudi žive u skladu sa sobom i u ravnoteži sa prirodom pokrenula je osnivače ove inovativne agencije da se upuste u još jedno putovanje ka kreaciji, investirajući na zanimljiv način u sliku boljeg društva i svjesnijeg čovjeka.
The technological revolution that we're going through right now, I think, can only be fully positive if it's accompanied by a revolution in consciousness and awareness, effectively in mindset, and with that in culture. So we asked ourselves, we're currently addressing the mindsets, the culture, the consciousness, the awareness in organizations, but how do you transform a planet? And I'm not implying that we are setting out to transform the planet, but it's something that we want to contribute towards, make a positive contribution. And we figure, well, what changes mindset, what changes consciousness is art, is media. What shifts culture is media. Media makes culture. So we figured we'd love to establish a company that exists to enable artists that, in our view, have a planetarian vision, so a vision of a planetary society, a vision of humanity living in tune and in balance with planet Earth, where humanity realizes that our planet is our mother, is our Earth, is our home, is the thing that birthed all of us, while also embracing technological advancement, while also embracing social advancement, while also embracing all the beautiful things we got from the last 400 or 500 years, 300 years of industrial revolution, and before that, of collective evolution. So that's where Welcome to the New World comes from, and that's why it's also called Welcome to the New World. The idea is that we want to enable artists to produce their creative vision in the most authentic, unadulterated way and bring that to market for them. That's the idea.
We are producing is quite ahead of its time because of our the songwriting is very deep, and if you compare it to modern music and to the current music, it's completely different because the songwriting goes into a deeper level than most of the other songwriting these days, I think. And that's why you could say it's quite ahead of its time. And also the way we choose artists. We are not looking for a specific type of music. We are not looking for a specific voice or anything. We are not looking on the, I think on the first step, we are not looking for how to make the most money with an artist. What we're looking for is the story and the human being behind an artist. To elevate their artistic freedom. I think that what makes us special, that we give them the freedom they need and the freedom they want to become who they are and to become the best selves.
There's only one way to take it, and that's hard, man. There's only one way to own it. She wanna drown in the city lights, but it's alright. If she wanna make a mistake, you better let her, man. You've gotta learn what it takes to keep a good thing from going bad.
We choose them with gut feeling, I think, and personal preference and the power of the message that we perceive. Yeah, that's it. There's no formal process where we say, is this a likely commercial success or not? You know, do they wear the right colors? None of that. We basically look at, you will hate this, but it's emergent as well. So we look at, you know, what comes our way, really. If you know, what comes our way, what we discover, what we see. And again, the whole organism, you know, yeah, the whole organism contributes to that. You know, people have the eyes open and see, are there interesting artists out there? And I want to say, when I say artists, I'm not limited to music, film, painting. You know, artists could be performance, artists could be speech, artists could be poetry, artists could be writing, artists could be presence even, you know. Yeah, that's, so we choose on the basis of resonance and intuition. That's it. You know, do we like it? Do we feel it? And does it tickle that intuitive spot? Yeah.
There's one verse from the second single of Delash, which we released in May this year, and it's called, the verse is, if you want power over yourself, you got to start with the work. And the song is called It's Alright. And I think that perfectly mirrors what I'm doing here, because I want to work on myself. On the first step, I'm working on myself while working for J2C, because I come here every day and I evolve myself every day with the help of the people from J2C. If you want power over yourself, you gotta start with the work. And that means that before you want to start working on other people or with other people, you have to start with yourself. You have to go into you have to find your inner peace, and you have to live in the now and become conscious and work on yourself before you take this experience out to teach it to other people.
When we try to define the genre of Delash's music, we're struggling. It's pop, but it's not really pop. It's R&B, but it's not really R&B. You know. And eventually we formulated the genre amongst us. I don't know if we actually use it out there, but amongst us we say Delash is conscious pop. You know, it's popular, but it tries to be conscious, and it tries to invite the listener to reflect. You know, I mean, lyrics such as "Don't let me win," just because I'm good at arguing. You know, it's playful, it's self-reflected, it's introspective, and it's profoundly human.
Don't wait until everything's all right, because if you do, there will be nothing left.
There's only one way to take it, and that's hard, man. There's only one way to own it. She wants to drown in the city lights.
Delashova pop muzika svjesnosti još uvijek nije mnogo popularna niti značajno komercijalno uspješna, ali su pokretači ovog projekta svjesni da je umjetnički uspjeh, ali i uspjeh uopšte, relativna kategorija.
I'm reading a book of Uta Hagen, and she was a magnificent actress and acting coach in the United States. And she's originally from Germany. And I was reading this chapter about what being successful is as an actor. And there was this whole thing about, is it to be measured by the amount of people that know you and the way you get paid for it, and and if you have 5 cars or a big house, or is it much more that you truly do and need, for example, to make a play that comes out of your own system and you put that in a theater, but maybe only 10 people watch, but it can be a great success for you because it's what you needed to do. And then she has this beautiful thing she writes down: by the standards of what this society demands from us, success is mostly measured in money and a lot of things, materialistic things, right? But if you then look at Rembrandt and Van Gogh, which are my country people, so to say, they would not be successful, but they are now.
If you want power over yourself, you've got to start with the work. If you want power over the world, you've got to start with your soul. If you want power over any piece, you've got to start with the whole. And if you want any peace, you better start real soon. It's alright if you do. Alright if you don't. Alright if you do. Alright if you don't. Alright if you do. Alright if you don't. Alright now.
And I realized what's most important to me, what gives me the greatest satisfaction, what gives me the feeling that I am somebody, not nobody, is when I see that my actions are impacting my environment. That to me is, and it's literally the meaning of success. I do something and something happens. That's what it is. So that's on a productive plane. I feel success means my actions have weight, and they contribute to something positive. Not just any weight. They contribute to something positive. On a human level, it's very clear the quality of the relationships that I build, and the nature of these relationships, the way they cultivate positive evolution in each that is part of the relationship, that to me is success on a human level, on a planetary level.
For me, success is how many people I took along with me on a journey. And it's not about my personal success or how rich I was, but it's really about the learnings that I made along the way, my attitude, how it changed, how I reflected upon it, and how many people that I brought with me. That kind of gives me the goosebumps sometimes when I look around and I see, wow, we've touched so many people with our company, and that's very special and very unique.
Success, I would say, is if you're being rewarded for something that's innate to you and something that you don't have to pretend. And I hope that's going to be the same for J2C as well, that we're going to be rewarded for something that's innate to us. So we're not trying to be like everyone else, we're trying to do something unique here. And I think the moment we are being rewarded for that is going to be our big success.
There's only one way to take it, and that's hard, man. There's only one way to own it. She wanna drown in the city light.